Next week marks 10 years since the Marikana Massacre. The Department of Justice and Constitutional Development has committed to making sure that the remaining matters on the Marikana Massacre will be finalized by the end of this month. At the same time, the Benchmarks Foundation spent a day in Marikana speaking to various residents and also exploring some of the areas. Let's speak to Bishop Jo Seoka, who's the Benchmarks Foundation chairperson, who joins us now. Bishop, thank you so much for your time this evening. You spent the day in Marikana. Have things changed?
We were there since this morning just listening to people's stories, and almost all the communities that we visited, about 5 of them, told us the same thing, that things have changed for West. There is nothing to write home about. People are still struggling with the same issues they had raised before 2012, such as employment of local youth, infrastructure development, improvement of the facilities, provision of lights, water. All those basic things that people need are still not supplied to them. And so the situation, as they put it, it's worse than it was during Lonmin. In fact, they are saying Lonmin was better than Sibanya still water.
And Bishop, you talk about how they say that things have, turned for the worse. Who do they blame for this? I know you say that they prefer Lonmin, but do they blame Sibanya for everything, or are there other role players here?
Well, they're blaming the government, they're blaming the municipality. However, when it comes to Sibanya, they are saying Sibanya had promised to talk to them, to engage with them, as it was the case with Lonmin. But since they bought the company, they have never made any effort. In fact, some of the initiatives that were started during Lonmin's time have been shelved. They don't know what is happening.
Do they say which initiatives?
Training of communities in terms of early learning, to help with kindergarten in that community, self-help projects, agricultural activities that they promised to support. All those things have just fallen on the wayside.
And
it is so bad that some women actually were saying to us they have begun selling their bodies in order just to get money to buy food, to support themselves. Very young women have become prostitutes. There are elderly women who are saying they have families and they live on the government grant. One woman was saying he has got 6 children. She would like her child to work. He passed grade 12 and is looking for a job. The company is not employing them, and she has to feed all those children who are out of school from the grant that she's getting.
And Bishop, you were there with the mine workers, because part of what they were crying about was this 12,500 rand, but at the same time, they wanted their living conditions to be improved. We are heading towards the 10th commemoration of the Marikana tragedy. I wonder, at the back of what you've mentioned, how difficult then does this make the events of next week to be, as when you look at around the idea of moving forward and healing from what happened there?
Look, the Benchmarks Foundation has, for all these years, asking the company to build a memorial facility where people could come and share their stories and reflect on what happened and have counseling and support structures. That has not happened. So the situation is actually very volatile. We experienced some divisions among people. They were almost fighting with each other. There are those who say, no, the company is doing a lot, and we are benefiting from it. And there are those who are saying, no, there is nothing happening. You people are just saying things that you have no evidence of. So it's really bad. The commemoration is one of those events that open wounds and almost rub salt to wounds, they say.
You talk about the divisions, and you say these, of course, are of individuals that say the mine is doing a lot for them, and others who are saying it's not doing a lot for them. How are the divisions, though, on the ground when it comes to what we saw in 2012 between the various unions? Then it was the NUM and AMCU. How are things on that front on the ground? Was there any mention of that?
No, there was no mention of that. People are just concerned about their own welfare, the community in which they live in terms of infrastructure development, things that will benefit them as communities. They didn't say anything about the union. All they say is that people died in vain, and the unions have not been very helpful in that regard. But these were community people in various areas around Marikana. The west area that we experienced is actually in Kaneng, not far from where the people were shot and killed. The situation there is graceful. We experienced in one area called Marikana RDP, spillage of sewage, dead pigs on that sewage, children playing on that sewage. It was very difficult for us even to breathe. How much more for people who live in those communities? People are crying for help. They say the company has all the opportunities. They've got all the necessary facilities to assist them, simply to just clean the place, to make it a place that they could be proud of living in it.
And, you know, part of what the Farlam Commission was also tasked with was to look at the living conditions of the people, you know, around the social responsibility of then Lonmin Mine. At the same time, it was to probe the incident. And we sat through various evidence, you know, with witnesses coming to say what happened according to their versions. Do you think we've gotten value for money from this particular process, or do you share the sentiments, as others have said over the years, that this was simply a waste of time because some of these recommendations were never implemented?
That's true. People were saying that they are not aware of any senior official, government official, company officials who has been prosecuted after what had happened. That they know of people that have been arrested, but there has not been any follow-up. The issue of compensation came up. Thus, they say people died in vain.
All right, Bishop, thank you so much for taking our call. We know that you're driving back from that site visit in fact, throughout the day. Thank you so much for your time. That is Bishop Jo Seoka, Benchmarks Foundation chairperson.